Welcome to Stu Structures. We're here today to kind of do an overview of my channel and introduce my channel to a lot of my new subscribers. I've picked up a lot lately, so stay tuned and we'll go into this. So definitely welcome to my channel, to my new subscribers. And some of you have been coming in off and on over the last couple of years, but you know, a lot of you are not familiar with a lot of maybe what I've done in the past. And you know, basically this channel is just to promote scratch building. You know, I'm not the best scratch builder in the world, but you know, it's not hard. And I just, a lot of people, they're kind of intimidated by it for some reason or another. You know, if that's the case, just get some materials and start with something simple. And, you know, I do have several 1 or 2 evening day projects back through my history. So, you know, just to make you aware of some of the stuff that I've went over down through the years, I'm just going to show you some of the clips of some of the videos down through the years to let you know what kind of thing is out there in the past few years from my channel to give you ideas to scratch build from. Some of my more simpler, you know, 1, 2 evening type of projects, you know, this was an earlier one that I did, and you know, every time period or era that you model always had billboards. Now this is a model of an earlier one, but you know, this is just a simple project. If you want something easy to scratch build, go back and catch the video of this. I just got the picture, I think, out of a Model Craftsman magazine years ago and just kind of threw this together. Now another project that I needed was a pump house, because I have water towers, because I'd modeled the steam era, and I needed a pump house to sit down along the river to pump water up into the tower for water, and then from there it would have went into water spouts and various things to heat steam locomotives. But this one was located in Belington, West Virginia, and this was just contrived from a B&O standard plans from the B&O standard plan book from the Railroad Historical Society. Now this next model, this was just a scale house. This would have been in the yard tracks in Grafton yard, just one just like this. And I did add lights to this. And this was just, you know, a similar, real simple project to do. You wouldn't have had to add the lights to it. But, you know, this was a simple, easy project and very easy to do. And something every yard would have are these fireboxes. Now, I haven't put the lettering on these still to this day, but I modeled one of these open with the hoses and the axes and all that in the doors, but just the basic simple structures sitting in your yard adds a whole lot of realism, especially to the steam era. But even into the diesel era, these fireboxes would have been around yards to put out fires as they arose anywhere in the yard. Now down at the rip track end of where the freight yard was, this was just a supply house in Grafton, West Virginia. And just, you know, it was full of shelves and tons and tons and tons of parts. And this was just a simple build, a whole lot of cutting in the wood for the windows and doors. But you know, nothing hard about this. Drip edges on the roof and a standpipe, and you know, it's nothing really hard about this whole build. It's just time consuming more than anything. And the windows from Tichy, you know, just come in handy for windows and doors. Another thing for the Grafton yard was this wash tower, and there were several of these during the steam locomotive days along either side of the tracks, and the steam locomotives would pull up to these, and then from here big hoses would have sprayed and washed off the steam locomotives. And there were several of these in Grafton, so this was just another few evening build, and you know, just something easy to scratch build. Moving on to something slightly larger, you know, this was the freight house in Belington, West Virginia. And actually the platform was about another 150-200 feet long. And I don't have the stairs glued onto this end of it because I'm storing this until I eventually get my layout. But I added open doors and some boxes and crates and various things inside, and you know, just every yard would have had a freight house. It's just something that most cities would have had to bring goods into their cities for people to buy, especially back in the freight day or the steam days. And early on, I built Grafton D Tower, and just some of the simple projects that people could use for various buildings was this circular staircase that I scratch built. And this again wasn't hard. It was time consuming, and it took a little time to figure out how to build it. But basically, there's quite a few structures that have circular staircases. So go back and check that out, and you'll be able to make one. Now that pump house we did earlier, this is the water tower that would have fed the water to the, one track, and then there was a standpipe on the other side of the track to feed another track. But basically, this was just scratch built. It's mostly wood. There's a little bit of styrene in this for the steel, but this was just a couple of week project that I just did in the evenings. Now in Grafton, where the steam locomotives dropped their ash into the ash pits, this was a gantry crane that crossed over 3 different tracks. And the center track would have had gondolas in it that it would have loaded the ash into, and then the outside tracks would have had pits that the ash dropped into with some water in them, and this crane would have picked up the ash and brought it to the gondolas in the middle. And a lot of the I-beams and stuff for this, I just scratch built even the I-beams. I did do some of the rivet detail in it, although there's a lot more rivet detail I could add into it as time goes on if I want to. I'm not sure that I want to get that involved, but basically this was mobile on railroad tracks, and it ran up and down a long area in the yard in Grafton. Another early era building in Belington, West Virginia was this building here. And this was a rolling mill. It was an ice house where they manufactured ice. And then there was a cold storage building in this. Basically 3 buildings just tied together with a bunch of roofs and a few walls. And a lot of the apples and stuff that were produced in this area came to here to be shipped out of here. And a lot of cold fruits and vegetables and various things from around the country came into here to be sold in the Belington, West Virginia area. And this was a nice, fun, structure to build. And I just worked, I think I had 2 pictures of this that weren't that great. And then we have the freight house in Grafton, and this one I even did on a small diorama because I wanted it to fit in and be a little more scenic. And I went ahead and added a lot of the stuff to the docks and stuff. It's just sitting on here. It isn't actually glued into place, but it's just every town like the Belington Freight House. This one is brick and actually has brick dental work and various things in it, and scratch made doors. The windows had to be manipulated in the brick down below, brick columns. It's just a very nice structure, but there again, it's just, this one took some time to do. And this is where the Grafton Model Railroad Historical Society, it now has their the upper 2nd floor of this building to build their model railroad in now. And most of you know Sparky 107. He sent me some pictures, and I told him I would build his house. So I just scaled this down from a front door and boards on the wall. And it might be a slight big, but it's pretty much to scale, I think. I didn't have measurements on the house. So in my videos, I show you how to build this from a front door size. One of the biggest buildings I did was originally the Beanery. And this has close to 100 windows in it, and this took 25 episodes to put this one together. But it's all scratch built, brick sheets for the walls and a bunch of Teachy windows and doors. I had to manipulate a couple of doors, but they were all precast, and I brought them in. The steel on this was all manufactured in place on the building. And it's just a very nice building. There was some casting done for parts for some of this building, and just ended up being a very nice building, but it'll definitely be a key structure in the Grafton yards. There were 2 buildings that, or 2 sidings. This was in a Y of tracks, and one would have went west and south, and the other one would have went north out of Grafton. So it's a very early iconic piece for Grafton. And a few of the other things that I've done, you know, several years ago there was a down and dirty model railroading contest put together, and we had to enter 2 cars into this, and so I weathered 2 cars. First was this covered hopper here, and this was late in its service and definitely, you know, has been weathered quite a bit and fairly heavy, but I think it turned out fairly well, and they go through the process of how to do that. And then these grain cars, this would have been used for cement with the hatches that was on top of it. So I came through and weathered this, and not slightly as heavy weathered as the other one was, but you can see where the lime has left deposits on the top, and you know, the trucks have kicked up, you know, dirt and stuff from the rails. So there's some of that you could go back and catch up to in my videos as well. So there you have kind of an overview of my channel from the last few years from its inception. You know, and besides the things I showed clips of videos of, I do have several other little things on there here and there down through the last few years that are of interest. I mean, I showed how to make a cradle for putting your locomotives or cars in to work on. You know, and it was just a video, and at the end I gave one away to, you know, one of the subscribers. I also go into Railroadiana. I have a lot of collection of paper goods and stuff like that. And I also have, you know, caboose lights, caboose whistles, potbelly stove, you know, crossing bucks. I don't know, I have all kinds of weird things in my collections. So I go into some of that as well. I also go into one video on how to find signs for your model railroads. And you know, there's signs from all different eras available out there all over the place. If you just Google and do searches in different you know, browsers to bring them up, they'll come up, and then you just take them into Photoshop or various, you know, programs to make them sizable to your scale. And you know, I also go into you know, different railroads have plan books for various structures and things that were on their railroad, and a few of these that I have built were from the B&O standard plans. And this was a book that was put out there by the B&O Railroad Historical Society. And you know, it's just been an invaluable piece of reference. I mean, a lot of my structures I build just from a couple of pictures, and I have to look at a door and figure out what the size of the door was, and from there scale that out to the size of the wall and then the windows and all that type of thing. And you know, in many of my videos I go into going through that process. There are some videos, I mean, some buildings that I build that I do have blueprints from, and you know, I'm lucky. And sometimes windows and doors, you know, if I'm wanting something that's exactly like the ones I see in the pictures, I have to take what sizes are available from the manufacturers that make them. Although I do show in, you know, some of my videos how to scratch build some windows and doors and that type of thing as well. That gets a little more tedious, but it is something that can be done and can save you even more money. Speaking of money, that's another subject. You know, I try not to spend tons of money on this hobby. That's why I'm scratch building all this, besides for the fact that, you know, none of these are available in kit form. If I want to build a specific time and place like I'm planning on doing, all these buildings I'm going to have to scratch build them. And you know, from that comes a lot of self-satisfaction on having things in your railroad that, you know, nobody else has on their model railroad. And when it comes down to it, and somebody comes in and looks at a scene and says, wow, man, that's Grafton, West Virginia, or man, that's Belington, West Virginia. You know, it gives me a lot of satisfaction, and it's kind of a pat on my back, you know, without me reaching back and doing it to myself. In any case, you know, this whole video is just to give you an idea of what's out there. There's a lot of other modelers out there that put scratch building material out as well. You know, it's all just to get you guys to have the confidence to jump out there and scratch build. You know, it is fun. It's not really hard. It's time consuming. You know, and a lot of what I do is trial and error. Sometimes things work, sometimes things don't. You know, I like to experiment, so, you know, that's good for me. If you're wanting something simple and easy and quick and something you don't have to think about at all, then buy kits and be happy with what's out there in the world. There's a lot of expensive, really good kits. which brings me back to money. Some of the buildings that I have built, if I had found them in kit form, would have been very, very, very expensive. The Beanery, my largest building, you know, that has close to 100 windows in it, maybe 20 doors. I don't remember how many. But, you know, just all the sheets of the brick that went into that building. But if I had had to buy that building in kit form, that would have been a few $100s for that kit. And I don't have $100 in it. There was a good bit in that building, but I probably don't have quite $100 in that building. So it saved me a lot of money in building that for myself. Not that I could have got it somewhere else, but you know, it saved me a lot of money. That's my whole point, and I like doing things that way. That gives me more money for used cars and locomotives and things like that that I want to buy for the hobby. So in any case, definitely thank you to all my new subscribers. I think I'm 760 some right at the moment of taping this, and it is climbing. You know, after a few years, I've still got a ways to go to get to my 1,000, but you know, hopefully we'll get there, and maybe I can monetize the channel and be able to, you know, do some more good for the hobby with some of that money. In any case, if you aren't subscribed, subscribe to the channel and hit the little bell icon so you can be notified when all my new videos come out. And the main thing to all this, I say this in all my videos, buy some materials or get some materials. You can find a lot of things for free and scratch build buildings. Have a happy model railroading.